Good morning. This is today. It's a Monday, November the 15th, and down in Houston at Mission Control, it is already a gloomy Monday as you're looking on at a live picture at the Johnson Space Center where a snag has developed in the mission of the Space Shuttle Columbia on this, the 5th day of that mission. And good morning and welcome to a special edition of the Today program on this Monday morning. We're going to be keeping our eye on two major stories on this day. One, the funeral of Soviet leader Leonid Brezhnev. We'll be getting highlights of that funeral procession from Moscow in just a moment. And the other is a snag that has now developed on this, the 5th day of the mission of the Space Shuttle Columbia. A snag in what was a planned spacewalk. For more on that, let's go live to Jane Pauley at the Johnson Space Center. Jane?
And good Monday morning. Never mind, Bryant. NASA was supposed to be trying out two new spaceships today. They were spaceships with arms and legs and a human being inside. Because the suit was an autonomous system, it had its own oxygen supply, its own cooling system, it really was a spaceship, but it's not going to fly today. Seems there is a bit of a hardware problem, maybe two. First of all, the ventilation fan in suit number 2 that Joe Allen would be wearing did not fail. It malfunctioned several hours ago. And then the pressure wouldn't hold on suit number 2 that Bill Lenore was going to fire up anyway. So we've got two malfunctions in both suits. With me this morning here in Houston is Steve Hawley. He's an astronaut. Is this a big setback for the space program?
Well, I wouldn't characterize it as a big setback for the program. We didn't need to do an EVA on Flight 5. There will be flights later where we will need to do an EVA. It's a disappointment for the program because we were going to gather some data that was going to tell us a lot about how difficult the tasks in space were going to be and about the fidelity of our training facilities in helping the astronauts prepare for EVA. So we lost some data that we would really like to have gotten, but it wasn't critical that we do it on this mission.
This is a brand new suit, never been tried before.
Never in space, that's true.
It must be a big disappointment for Joe Allen and Bill Lenore, though.
Yes, it is, I'm sure, and you can kind of sense that in their voices. They've been training very hard for this. I believe that the idea to originally do the EVA on Flight 5 came from Bill and Joe. It was something that they had been working for more than a year, and I'm sure they're very disappointed not to be able to do that. It would have been a first for them, and everybody likes to do firsts.
Well, Joe Allen and Bill Lenore have already etched their names in history, of course. They launched those two space satellites, which was the primary purpose of this mission. Brian?
All right, Jane, thank you. We'll be good morning, Jane. They've scrapped the spacewalk. A lot of long faces down there.
Well, Joe Allen and Bill Lenore very much wanted to go to work in new three-piece suits today, but it's not going to happen. Bryant, there will be no spacewalk. Seems they've had a mechanical failure or two, or maybe even three. So a little bit later in today, we're going to show you two very disappointed astronauts.
Was ill. Now it's being scrubbed because the space chute is malfunctioning. Other than that, NASA says the mission has been a great success and will end on schedule tomorrow morning at 6:33 a.m. when the shuttle lands at Edwards Air Force Base.
Trouble was, as Morton Dean reports, the Columbia shuttle astronauts didn't, and their spacewalk had to be scrubbed.
It was a tough morning aboard the Columbia. 4:35 a.m.
Okay, we got a problem with Joe's fan.
5:55 a.m.
It gradually deteriorated and then flat quit.
6:48 a.m.
Freddy, got some bad news for you. We're going to have to terminate the EVA prep.
Instead of walking and working out here in the cargo bay, Joe Allen and Bill Lenore had time to play. Their spacewalk had been canceled, and the space program had been dealt a double whammy. The spacesuits they were to wear both malfunctioned.
I was disappointed. I wanted to do the EVA. I'm sure the crew wanted to do the EVA.
Almost immediately, in a special chamber at the Johnson Space Center, efforts were underway to determine what had happened. In Allen's suit, a fan that distributes oxygen had failed. In Lenore's suit, there was a pressure problem. One of the malfunctioning suits may be needed if there's an emergency. If the cargo bay doors won't close automatically tomorrow, then one of the astronauts will have to go outside and close them manually. Unless the doors are closed, the shuttle can't return home safely.
Bill's system is working well enough, as far as we know today, that he'd be able to do that.
Well enough
Yes.
to use in an emergency?
In an emergency.
The suits, manufactured by United Technologies, are the latest space fashion and cost about $2 million each. Development of the suit was plagued by difficulties and cost overruns. It's essential to the future of the shuttle program that the problems be eliminated. Morton Dean, CBS News.
Spacesuits were defective. Roy Neal reports from Houston.
After months of preparation, there would be no spacewalk. Here's how Mission Control told the astronauts.
Fred, I got some bad news for you. We're going to have to terminate the EVA prep.
Technicians here at the Johnson Space Center tried unsuccessfully to figure out why the astronaut spacesuits, both of them, broke down while they were getting ready to go outside. They studied a fan used to circulate oxygen like the one that failed in Joe Allen's backpack soon after he put on the suit, and a regulator like the one that wouldn't set the right pressure in Bill Lenore's suit a couple of hours later. Spacesuits are not new. They were used in the Gemini, Skylab, and Apollo programs. And what frustrates NASA, until today, no spacewalk was ever canceled because of a hardware failure. The shuttle suits are of a new advanced design. They've been tested for thousands of hours. Lenore and Allen practiced with them for hundreds of hours underwater. The Hamilton Standard Company had plenty of problems during development, seams that split, even a fire in a test suit. Costs soared to about $2 million apiece. The suits that failed today had been thoroughly tested and certified ready for flight.
This isn't our day for suits, Bob.
You know how Monday mornings are.
But Lenore and Allen made the best of it. During the television time, when they should have been spacewalking, they showed a model of a communication satellite, and they didn't talk about the disappointment. NASA always has tried to brush off its failures in public. Some future shuttle missions are built around spacewalks. Obviously, NASA has to figure out how to make its suits work reliably. Roy Neal, NBC News, Houston.